what's up, everybody? Bro Trio here, and 2024 is finally over fiscally. So now we are ready to do our 2024 bosses list. In all reality, we got way too caught up in our backlog to give this a fair shot and play some games from 2024 to really experience the bosses. So we took our time with this one. It's a little longer than we normally do. Like, I think 1 year in the past we were this late, but we tried to get them out earlier. But we did our homework and our due diligence. So we take our time here at Bro Trio to experience it. And there were some pretty good bosses in 2024, and we're going to kick things off with number 10.
So we're starting things off with one of the better games that I played this year, but one of the shortest ones, and that's Neva. The Corrupted Queen is a recurring boss fight. You don't actually fight her the first couple of times. It's like she shows up and then you lose. And then, because she holds her sword up and then just a wave of minions comes after you.
Okay, so it's not the kind where you have to fight them and you have to win, but then you lose in the cutscene? That's my least favorite boss ever.
No, the first time you fight her is at the end of the game.
Oh, okay.
And it's just you've spent this whole game fighting all these corrupted animals and plants, and everything's going horrible. And then it culminates in this big fight where you're one-on-one. You've lost your wolf at this point, so your moveset's kind of cut in half.
Damn.
And then you're going after her, and it's just like a big epic sword fight. You gotta dodge and duck and dive, and then eventually, your wolf shows up, right in the nick of time, she's about to kill you. And then it's just oh, I have distance attacks. And you start throwing your ghost wolf out. It pins the queen down so you can get better slashes. It was so much fun.
So it's a ghost wolf?
Yeah, wolf spirit. I don't know.
Oh.
It's got antlers. It's some kind of forest spirit.
It's not real.
But, yeah, and that was really cool because, phase 2 of the fight started, and then you get your full moveset back, and you're just oh, yeah. And it was a really good feeling and a really fun boss fight.
So we normally try to do our weirdo bosses for number 10, because, honestly, a lot of times they don't actually make the list due to our, average of points and stuff like that, but then we're just this boss was so off the wall, we just have to put it on here.
Yeah, the boat from Red Dead 2.
Yeah, the boat from Red Dead 2 was one of those. We didn't actually factor it in, but we put it on there because we just had to talk about it. And this is one where it's an off-kilter boss, unconventional and everything, but we all, or at least 2/3 of us, actually played it. So it actually made the rankings and stuff like that. But we're talking about the Manticore from Animal Well.
Scary.
This
Scary
caught
bastard.
me holy hell off guard.
I did not make it that far.
Yeah,
but
the Ghost Cat prepared us for this a little bit, but God, this is so much more scary than the Ghost Cat.
So the Manticore is you're just trucking along in Animal Well. It's Animal Well. There's ambient noise. There's not really music. It's just noise happening there.
Noise, a little trill music, and a bird.
Yeah, and you're just running around doing that, and then all of a sudden, this almost 8-bit death metal creepy noise starts happening, and then this black thing just starts enveloping the screen and coming after you. He chases you to no end. He shoots lasers at you that will bust through walls to get to you, and they'll reflect off certain walls. So it's a whole stressful puzzle to fight the Manticore. Again, you don't actually fight him. I mean, you can throw fireworks
You run away
at him.
and you solve stressful puzzles.
Yeah, you force him to solve the puzzles with his abilities, and you just dodge him to get through the puzzles. And then eventually, since he's scared of firecrackers, you make your way to a whole stack of fireworks. And then I guess it kills him or something like that. And then he comes back if you did the crazy off the wall, you gotta do 8 million things, happy ending. But the Manticore, it just gets on here for how much off guard and stressful he made a pretty real chill platformer.
Yeah, relatively relaxed game.
And he made it very stressful and it was a great boss fight with no combat.
We talked about this one in our Game of the Year video, and Emperor Naro, the Necromancer King from Pepper Grinder, is definitely a weird and interesting boss. All the boss fights are pretty interesting in that game. Like, it's kind of like a little puzzle to figure out how to hurt them, and then once you do, you just like go nuts. A lot of times you have to like get under them and make them fall over or something, and then you get to the final boss, and it's just like he's just a corpse on a chair and then stands up and just starts wailing on you. And you have to dodge, you have to like catapult yourself up out of his like pile of skulls to hit him in the head, because that's his only weak spot. And he's hitting so hard that his like it sends like energy blasts into the ground, so you have to dodge that too. And it was just intimidating, like fighting him all of a sudden, because it's the first boss that was just like, oh, this is something different. And then phase 2 kicks in, and he just breaks everything. So you're on a bunch of hovering platforms, and then he's a giant, like, in the background boss, just shooting fireworks and all kinds of stuff at you, and you just have to dodge everything, line up your shot, try not to get struck by lightning, and then hit him in the head a couple of times until he finally goes down. But it gets to the point where he's, like, actually destroying some of your platforms, so then you have to... Like, if you got used to doing a certain move, you can't do it anymore because the one you were standing on is gone. So you have to adapt your strategy, and it was just really fun and interesting, and for such a fast-paced game, it was definitely a fast-paced boss. Grapple Dog's Cosmic Canines definitely brought in a lot of different, like, alternate dimensions and stuff like that to play around in.
Is that what it's called? I thought it was just Grapple Dogs.
No, it's Cosmic Canines.
Oh, I thought you were just doing a cool word.
No, that's the subtitle.
Cool.
And, yeah, you're going... I think there's, like, 5 different dimensions you go through and have to, like, solve stuff for. And you're working your way toward Veer. He's this incredible, like, multi-dimensional threat that you see him at the beginning of the game, because when you're in the, like, I forget his name, the Time Bears town, that you're, like, learning how all this dimensional travel stuff works, and then you find somebody and they're just like, oh no, he's here. And then the sky breaks open and his invasion has started.
That's cool.
And it was just so cool, and then to finally fight him, it was like the whole game had led up to that, and it was just like, how are they going to pull off a multiversal threat? And the answer? Copy the Bowser Jr. fight from Yoshi's Island.
I was about to ask if this was the Bowser one.
Yeah, the Bowser Jr. one from Yoshi's Island.
It's not even Baby Bowser.
Yeah. Because, like, he's just charging at you. There's a big cannon in the middle of the arena. You have to charge it up by attacking minions. And then you just shoot him. And then, like, eventually his health bar goes down, and he just stands back up and heals. And then starts getting closer. And then you keep doing that until you finally, like, get him hurt enough that he, like, stumbles and falls. And then after he falls, you break open his chest with the cannon. And now you go fight his heart. And that is the true, like, multi-dimensional threat. This other one was just like an avatar.
So it's like Void Termina and Void Soul.
Yes.
And Kirby Star Allies.
He was just like a shell?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like, that was his like...
It's Lavos.
Corporal form. Yeah, kind of like Lavos, actually, yeah. And the heart was a very, very hard fight, because you're on this little platform, and he's just zipping around, shooting all kinds of stuff. You have to dodge, grapple, get back up there, like, try not to get hit. And they switch it up, because you fight the first phase with Pablo. Then you fight the second phase with the girl dog that I forgot her name.
Shadow.
Pablo.
Yeah, Shadow. And so that throws things in a little bit, because now you have a gun, so you can shoot him sometimes, but he's zipping around and you have to dodge and shoot, and it was just a very stressful fight, but it was fun. And it definitely, like, they didn't forget about the grapple hook, because you have to do that during that fight, or it's going to be a rough time. In a game that is chock full of, like, awesome boss fights, Another Crab's Treasure brought us Voltai the Accumulator. That was such an interesting fight because, well, first of all, it's one of the few that you're not fighting a crab or a lobster.
I was about to say, it's got to be pretty tough to beat the centaur lobster.
Yeah.
But an eel.
But yeah, Electric Eel is a cool villain, and more than that, it's like a personal fight for him because when you first get into her arena, she's like doing nursery rhymes and stuff, and it's kind of weird, and you're just like, oh no, this is a child. And Krill knows it. He tries to talk her down, and she's just like, let's have fun, and starts shooting electricity, and you're just like, alright. And it depends on where she, like, what junk pile she's in, what attack she does, because if you get too close, she has one that she always does, where she'll, like, headbutt you or try to bite you. And the whole, like, area in the middle of the arena is full of poison, so you can't just, like, walk over there. You have to jump and glide and stuff. And then the funniest one was the toaster, because she just pulls out a toaster, flips it over, and starts shooting bread at you.
And you have the funniest one?
Yeah, I thought it
was the funniest one.
I'm pretty sure the dildo's the funniest one.
It's a vibrator.
Or the vibrator, whatever. I mean,
she
one's
uses
the
a
weirdest.
vibrator.
Yeah.
Like, what does it even do? Does it do like earthquakes or something like that? Or
she puts it up against your shell, and it just like breaks your shell instantly.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what he said.
Yeah, it's so scary because at first she's just like, or that one. It's funny because she pulls that out and she's just like, I don't even know what this does, and then it starts doing that. And she's just like, okay, and puts it on you, and it just breaks your shell immediately, and it's that was so scary. But the toast was, I thought, the funniest because
I do like the toast.
You have to use the toast as platforms to get to her because it's often through a lot of poison. But if the toast hits you, it's a projectile, so it does do damage. And then there's like a radio that sends out like an EMP blast, and
all these electronics
something
work
else.
Underwater and have infinite bread in them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Electric eels generate bread. You didn't know that? But yeah, the main villain had been using her as a power source, so she's got like all these electrical outlets like grafted into her.
Oh.
And when you kill her, Krill is like pissed. He's just like, okay, this has gone too far. I didn't want to do this, and I really don't want to do this anymore.
I just want my shell, man.
And yeah,
I just want it.
But you get her as like her spirit as like a summon after the fight, so that was kind of interesting. It's one of the magic attacks.
The hell?
Where you can summon like a spectral eel and it'll like wrap around enemies and shock them.
She lives on.
And that was kind of nice to think like maybe she didn't fully die, but yeah, with how pissed off Krill was, like that was the maddest he was the whole game, and for a damn good reason.
Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown had plenty of bosses to choose from, but my favorite was Kiana in the like Poison Forest section of the game. This one was, for me, like the first like real test. This was a hard one.
Was this the wolf one or
the wolf one with the girl?
Man.
No, it's the girl riding the wolf.
Yeah.
And she's shooting poison and spikes and all over the place, throwing her spear all over the place. You gotta parry the spear and then you can dash in and hit her.
Yeah.
You pretty much have to use all your abilities in this fight. Like you have, there might be a way if you're better at dodging than me, but the one where you place like a time clone and then you can teleport back to it, that saved my ass in this fight. And like sometimes the cutscene gets rid of it, so I think it was there and then it wasn't. Like when you hit her and you get the little scene where you're beating her ass, and then I don't know, maybe there's a time limit that I was unaware of. But sometimes I try to teleport to it and it wasn't there. But especially when she's doing the big attacks where she's like rushing through on the wolf, spinning her stuff and shooting lasers, I would always have a time clone like up in the air. I was just like, nope, and get up there, and then a wall run behind her, beat her ass, and parry her. And I had an ability where when you parry, there's a little bubble that forms, and everything, all the enemies in there time slows down for them. So
Oh,
I did
cool.
that, and I just beat her up for a little bit, build up my super meters, do my supers, and get the cool cutscenes where I beat her ass and it kills my time clone, I guess. But Kiana was just pure fun. That was this fight. It was pure fun, and it was the first real test where I was like, oh, this game's getting tough. And afterwards, the wolf turns good after you kill Kiana because she was possessing it, so that's nice. Further down the list, we had the Necromancer King. Now, we have the Necromancer God Queen. We are fighting Gilneain's Archdemon Dragon Razakale in Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I put this up here for my favorite boss from Dragon Age the Veilguard because it's awesome, and there is a lot of drama surrounding it, and that's a big bonus.
I mean,
So-
Scotty's the only one that actually experienced this boss,
Yeah.
so that should tell you how much he loves it. Like, is this your boss of the year? Like,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
my favorite boss this year. It was awesome. Well, first off, you show up because you hear Weishaupt is under attack. That's the Grey Warden, like, stronghold castle. You show up, armies upon armies of Darkspawn slamming against the gates. And there's a lot in the walls, and you go talk to the lead Grey Warden, and he's being a dick. So you have the choice to either talk him down or beat his ass. And I
beat his ass.
well, I talked him down. I tried to do the good way first, and it succeeded. So I was like, okay. But either way, it ends up pretty much the same. Where like you talk him down, and then he shows up later, and you think he dies, and then he shows up later again. Because the way it works, for people that don't know Dragon Age, when a Grey Warden kills an Archdemon, that Archdemon's soul goes to the next Darkspawn, and that can become a new Archdemon. But since the Grey Wardens drink Darkspawn blood or whatever for their ritual, the soul can go into them, and then basically either they die or they kill themselves. Either way, they die and take the Archdemon with them, essentially. And the first Warden, he shows back up, and he's just like, I was being an idiot. I'm not going to lose anyone else to these people. And he tries to kill this Archdemon. That's a dragon, keep in mind. They trapped it in this cool dragon trap that they had in the castle. You don't even fight it at this point. He shows up to do that. Then, oh, guess what? Squid Mommy comes in, Gilneain, scoops him up, takes his blood, puts it in, uses him as a blood sacrifice for her blood magic to transform her demon dragon into like a demon dragon Hydra. And it was badass. And like, first off, when you first showed up, Gilneain's face was in the clouds talking shit to you. Like just these clouds, she's like, bow to me, mortals, and all this. Stop resisting, worms, and stuff like that.
She's bad guy Mufasa.
She's bad Mufasa. She's a squid mama. And it's a really cool fight, though, because it makes you, regardless of, you have to use all your abilities, basically. That's what I like in a fight. So if you don't use range a whole lot, you better get used to it in this fight, because you're not going to hit it as much otherwise. Now, when it comes down to bite you, yes, but everybody has a range attack, so you might as well be throwing your shield, or shooting your magic, or shooting your arrows, whatever, because you got to hit these weird little zits that it has, because it's gross necromancer stuff, and that does critical damage. So it was a very fun fight, and in between phases, a bunch of Darkspawn show up, and you have to beat those. And then she takes the dragon away when you beat it too much, brings it back with another head, brings it back with 3 heads now at the end of the fight, and it gets harder and harder and funner and funner. And the cutscene that ends it off really kind of sets the stage for the rest of the game, because like you basically fail at something huge, and it kind of weighs over your party the whole rest of the game, where it's like, we cannot this up again. And it's awesome. I think that's the very end of Act 1, maybe Act 2. But it's awesome. I think that's the end of Act 2.
I figured that was farther in.
No, it's not it must be the end of Act 1 or the beginning of Act 2. Because there's a lot after that. But it's awesome. It's really fun, really dramatic, and super story heavy going forward.
Now, story bosses can be fun, but nothing tops just a straight up fun boss. And that's who we're here to talk about today. the Mechanical Menace, the Invisible Punk himself, Mecha Leon, the Chameleon from Astrobot. Now, chameleons
Why not
are
just name him
already
Mechameleon?
cool. I don't know. I call him Mecha Leon. But
Should have been
Yeah.
Mechameleon.
But Astrobot is not only a great game, it's got some great bosses. Most of the bosses are pretty fun, but Mecha Leon takes it because he's not a great boss by himself. But what is great about him is that you get the time slow ability to fight him, and it is one of the most creative, cool bosses ever. Like, he's shooting out like rapid fire chameleon fire, because they do that in this game. So you can slow down time, bob and weave through his little fire spits, and then wait, and then he's like gonna get his chameleon eyes going, and he's gonna go blah and shoot his tongue at you. But you dodge it, it sticks to the stage, and then you can just Prince of Persia slow down time and run up his tongue and punch him in the uvula. Like, it is very satisfying to do, and the whole fight, like, once you get through one phase, he gets mad, and then he changes to, like, yellow or something. He keeps changing colors in the fight, and he keeps swapping up what he's doing. Like, I think it's phase 2 or phase 3, there's platforms, and then he's gonna do like the Casino did, but instead of Casino chips, this time it's buzzsaws. He throws a bunch of buzzsaws at you, Astro, slows down time, and then platforms on top of the buzzsaws to him. Like, it is one of the coolest fights. Like, I have replayed it at least 3 times at this point. It's just so fun. It's so great. Just go play it. Play Astrobot. It was Game of the Year, and this is one of the best bosses of the year. So we've covered in the past 2 entries, we've covered story good bosses and we've covered fun good bosses, but now let's talk about spectacle good bosses, because we're hitting you with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and for this one it was a toss-up. We couldn't really decide until it just clicked. Like, all of a sudden it clicked for me and Scotty. Aaron didn't play it. Yeah. But Jenova Life Clinger, the final boss, Jenova, in like the 16 phase final battle of Jenova and Sephiroth. It is the best boss in the game. We were debating on the Red Dragon in the Temple of the Ancients because that boss was really, really fun, and it cut off with a brilliant cinematic of Tifa scissor kicking a dragon in the face.
Yeah.
Kicking him into the concrete
But
with a killing blow.
Jenova Life Clinger is not only a fun boss, a challenging boss, a story boss, a hype boss, and an adrenaline boss, but it also has a lot of spectacle, like Tifa scissor kicking a dragon, except it's everybody this time. It is, seriously,
Everybody gets their turn to
it's
mess up.
like that scene in Advent Children where everybody's like taking their turns, like throwing Cloud higher so he can hit bomb it. But this time they're just beating Jenova's ass. Like, good God, it is seamless from combat to cutscene, back to combat, and one of the best parts about it is you don't get to pick your formation when you go into it. It forces you to play with certain characters in certain teams that you may not have chosen, but it's like, I swear, they picked like the best synergy teams for the most part. Except Kate Sith gets thrown in there somewhere.
He has
but
to.
a lot of it was very good. Like, they put like Yuffie and Red 13 on a team, and like Barret and Red 13. It gets swapped up a good bit, but everybody has their time to shine. There's a lot of great fights. You're not just relying on Cloud the entire time. And it was so fun, so spectacle, and just really got your heart pumping to finally finish this game and take it to Sephiroth, because that bastard killed Aerith, and you got to get at least some form of revenge.
I'm glad this one ended up as a boss that we all 3 beat. And that because everyone gave it high points, and that's how it ended up. We're talking about Null from The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. This boss, what's scarier than Ganondorf, potentially? Like, no one expected this game. to have
The biggest
Yeah.
lore dump.
The biggest
like,
lore
in-
dump.
Almost in the franchise.
this
Like,
guy rivals the Golden Goddesses, I think, in
Yeah.
power because he's
Well, they-
pre-universe nothingness.
Yeah,
That's what
he's the
is.
concept of nothingness. Like,
And they thought he was such a threat, they made Hyrule to contain him and made the fairy guys to, like, eat up his nothingness that he kept eating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Tri and the gang are basically just like
Cleanup crew.
bacteria.
yeah.
They're a cleanup crew to try to clean up the messes that Noel makes because he's constantly eating things because he's nothing, and he preferred it when it was just him in the void by himself. And that's what he wants to get back to, and that's why he's eating everything. And it's awesome. And he looks like he looks like
Try.
Tri. in
Oh yeah,
that.
he's like a
I don't-
deformed evil tribe.
I wonder if that's because he was eating them or if that's just how he looks.
Or maybe
Yeah.
they designed the
Or it,
the
I
cleanup
guess.
crew after it, since it's nothingness. You got to combat it with nothingness. or
Somethingness.
something. I don't know.
Yeah. So this pre-universe nothingness that can consume everything it touches is the final boss of The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and it does a Zelda classic where Zelda and Link are fighting together, but guess what? You're Zelda this time instead of being Link like all the other times. And so what you do your summons and you support Link, and it is awesome. It's fun. It is climactic, and like we said earlier, massive lore dump for a massive threat. Noel really brought something considering that he's nothing.
And that's going to wrap it up for the Bro Trio's top 10 bosses of 2024. Like I said, this was a pretty good year for bosses, and we just couldn't resist putting Noel at the top. Like, he was
yeah.
so fun. Mainly because, like, as all the other reasons we said, but also because we all beat him in several different ways. Like, wildly
Yeah.
different ways. And that was some of the most fun about him, was the meta fun part of discussing, like, oh, you beat him with 6 moblins? I beat him with 6 bats.
That just
Or something, like,
only beds.
the
That's just a lot of beds.
The Echoes of Wisdom discussions were one of the highlights of the year. Not even
Yeah.
playing the game, just talking about it was very fun. And that's why we put Noel at our number 1 spot. But that's been our top 10. Let us know what your favorite bosses of this year were in the comments. Be sure to stay tuned to Bro Trio for more footage and stuff like this. And we'll catch y'all next time.